I think this was okay.
This is not okay.
Okay.
This is very bad. Christmas is here, whether you are ready for it or not. I'm not ready for Thanksgiving. I just ruined a cauliflower dish before coming here to record this with you.
Oh, no.
It's a whole other story. But Alonso is always ready for Christmas, which is why he is going to describe to you Red One. Alonso, take it away. What's it about?
Santa Claus has been kidnapped.
You're the best tracker in the world. You're going to help us find him.
I work alone. You used to.
So J.K. Simmons is Santa, a jacked Santa who only eats those cookies because he burns millions of calories delivering toys every year. His head of security is one Callum Drift, played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Callum is looking to step down. He only sees the naughty in people. He thinks humanity has taken a turn and they just aren't nice anymore. But wouldn't you know it, they drag him back for one last job when Santa is kidnapped by a Christmas witch, played by Kiernan Shipka, and the only person who can help folks put all the threads of this conspiracy together is a hacker, played by Chris Evans. I know what you're thinking. This sounds like a Red Notice movie, as Lon Harris would put it. This sounds like another movie where they got a bunch of stars, and they're supposedly globetrotting, but they're mainly standing in front of green screens, and there's a lot of jokes that aren't funny, and a lot of action that isn't exciting. This is not that, shockingly enough. It's maybe not that. It's like not as cool as it could have been necessarily, but they hired Jake Kasdan, who did the two Jumanji reboots that also starred Johnson, and they make Dwayne Johnson and Lucy Liu, as the head of a secret agency that oversees mythological beings on the planet, play it super straight-faced and deadpan. And the results are pretty fun. And maybe I just came in with really low expectations, but this is a serviceable action comedy, about Santa. And I think that they find some fun ways to play with it. They dig into Christmas lore in a lot of ways. Santa's estranged brother is none other than Krampus. I don't want to oversell this. It's not a classic. Will I ever watch it again in future Decembers? I don't know, maybe. But given the kind of sub-genre that it exists in that has given us such dreadful movies like Ghosted, starring one Chris Evans, I think this was okay.
This is not okay.
Okay.
This is very bad.
All right.
So the beginning has an interesting idea. The beginning is good and the end is good. And then there's like an hour and 40 minutes there in the middle that is terrible and it looks like crap. This movie is over 2 hours long. This is a $250 million giganto blockbuster with major A-list stars. I like Jake Kasdan. Jake Kasdan directed a movie that I think about and quote all the time in Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. This has none of that kind of wit. And I realize this is apples and oranges, but it is just so unfunny. There are some individually cool ideas in the beginning. The idea of, as you say, jacked Santa. J.K. Simmons looks amazing. And, watching him work out in his home gym in the penthouse where he lives in this giant skyscraper. Dwayne Johnson is his head security, but also is his spotter at the gym. And some of the ideas of him being like a presidential figure who has a code name and has a Secret Service detail and has very elaborate high tech to protect him year round, but particularly on Christmas Eve. There are some cool ideas here. And then once Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans cross paths, it is so spectacularly unfunny. They have zero chemistry with each other. They are in two totally different movies. I love the idea of Chris Evans playing kind of a villainous figure, right? I mean, Captain America is kind of boring. And we see from like Glass Onion, like the Knives Out world, for example, that when he can tap into kind of a charmingly kind of roguish character or someone who's just a flat out jerk, like laying into the Boston accent that he has. It can be a lot of fun and his timing is great. And he can use like his fantastic looks for nefarious purposes and ways that are interesting. None of the material here gives them the opportunity to do that. And then once they get deeper and deeper into the mythological world, the effects look so terrible. It is so grim and so dreary. I don't know who this movie is for because a lot of the little kids stuff, is there as far as the mythology of Santa and Christmas. but this is really too scary and too dark for them, especially once we get to Krampus world. Like, it's heavy and it's violent, and like stuff that happens with Nick Kroll and his character is also very violent, but then it's also too simplistic for a lot of adults to watch. So I don't know who this is for. And then once it wraps up, like what happens at the end is like what you've been waiting for the whole time. Like, oh, like the joy of this, like the ingenuity of getting into how Santa does what he does.
Yes.
There's some clever stuff there at the end in terms of like Ant-Man kinds of things, you know, and the speed and the reindeer. And anyway, there's some cool ideas in the beginning and the end, but unfortunately there's an entire movie in the middle that you have to sit through if you're going to watch this.
Okay. I mean, look, all I know is I was entertained by it. I think that Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans do have comedic chemistry. I think they bristle off each other pretty well. There's a whole subplot about Chris Evans being a crappy dad and having to sort of like fix that up that I thought had the potential to be just like, ugh, and it wound up working for me. I think they don't turn it into something really sappy. It actually becomes relevant to the plot. I think Kiernan Shipka makes a very cool villainess. Yeah, I mean, it's again, this is not a movie. I'm not going to die on the hill of this film, but I did have a good time when I didn't think I was going to. I was amused. I was entertained. I agree with you that the ending is very strong, stronger than a lot of what comes before it. But you know, I had a good time with it.
We have Krampus Ex Machina here at one point with Kristofer. Is it Hivju? Is that how you say it? He's from Game of Thrones.
I'm not sure how you say his name. Yeah, he had a very funny bit in a not very good movie, Downhill, the Force Majeure remake.
Because he was in the original Force Majeure as well.
Yes, he's in both of them. Yeah,
right. And so again, like the pieces are here. There is so much money here. I don't know why this looks so terrible. Like, especially in like the nighttime dark, like the Krampus Kingdom stuff. It is so dreary. And like the pacing just feels off in what is intended to be snappy banter between Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans. They just don't have any chemistry. And it does remind me of Red Notice in that it feels like they're not even occupying the same space a lot of the time. You know,
okay. I didn't get that feel. I thought there were some clever bits regarding like how they travel around from place to place. I liked the depiction of the North Pole as this sort of like ultra high tech, you know, kind of office park, you know, industrial plaza, but with like Santa's old cabin in the middle of it is kind of like a historical display. Yeah, you know, look, I think expectations may have played into this just because we've seen so many movies like this that I think are so dreary and lacking in charm that this one at least had some charm and some fun. And so, you know, I can't loathe it with the fire that I hated something like Ghosted, you know. For me it worked.
All right, well then what is your number?
Like a 6.8. Like this is not a Christmas classic by any means, but I just think it could have been much worse.
Okay. I do think expectations play a factor in this for sure. Because maybe I thought it'd be better based on like who all is in it and who directed it. So I'm going to say a 4.
Okay.
Also, you get some Bonnie Hunt.
Yes. And that's always a good thing.
But not nearly enough.
Never enough.
Anyway, Red One's out there. If you are jonesing for Christmas and want to go to the movies with people you love and there's reclining seats and popcorn, there's that.
But you could also see Christmas Eve in Miller's Point or The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Also that.
Choices. Thanks.